representing Latvia, Edgar Scrivers.
Edgar Scrivers. This is a tough test at bantamweight for any man. Never been KO'd, most of his losses are decisions, 4 decisions, 1 sub out of his 11-5 record. But he's coming off the back of a fantastic 5-round win back in May. Won a title by unanimous decision and just shows in that fight, as he does in others, how well-rounded of a martial artist he really is.
And fighting for a title in another organization, it gives you experience fighting a 5-round fight. And that's something that when now you go back, and from my own experience, going now and training for a 3-round fight, it's almost like, really, now I gotta go 3 rounds? There's an advantage to it. You learn that you do have to increase the intensity, there's a different pace, there's different adjustments, but there's something about that training for that bigger fight that is an advantage for experience there for the guys coming out going only 3 rounds.
Also brings confidence as well, winning a title at that level. And one thing he really shows in the cage that we've highlighted when we're watching the tape back on him is that composure. And because he's got now 16 fights to be his 17th fight, that experience really shows when he gets in trouble, he doesn't panic. He goes back to basics, uses those fundamentals. And that is something that a coach urges and wants their fighters to do, but it takes a while to grow into that.
You can't coach that, because at those moments that's occurring, no matter what I yell, that's on you as a fighter to make those adjustments. So it's an invaluable asset and skill set he brings.
Let's welcome his opponent now. Hand it back to Cyrus Fields.
And now his opponent, fighting out of the red corner and representing Canada, Xavier Alaoui.
Great response from the crowd here in Montreal, Canada, to this fighter. This is somebody who fights out of TriStar, and you would know the quality of that gym, but this is somebody, the fighters in TriStar, the coaches in TriStar, the people in and around that gym say this is one to watch. It's not just the skill set he's got, which will pull onto you with the leg locks and the jiu-jitsu he's got, but also his ethic, the ethic in the gym, how he approaches the true professionalism of this young fighter. And that again is something you cannot instill in somebody. They either bring it and they've got it, or they haven't. And this young man, all the hype around him, so excited to see him step here today.
That's the good thing about being in a gym where there's other guys that have been there and done that, they experience it. We can read through hype. We can see a guy that's like, yeah, you might be good right now in the local show because you're a good athlete, but we all can see that you don't have, and you don't really want what it's going to take to go to the next level. But the fact that he trains in a gym where you have a George St. Pierre, you know, on that
so many
level.
Rory McDonald.
Rory McDonald.
Yes.
When you're amongst that group of individuals and people respect you as something like, hey, this kid has it. You know what? We all better go ahead and watch and listen.
Watch and listen indeed, and this is a young man we're excited to see in the ACB cage. So let's get this fight on, make it official with RMC, Cyrus Fields.
And now 3 5-minute rounds in the ACB Bantamweight division. Introducing first the fighter on my right, fighting out of the blue corner. He's a mixed martial artist standing 5 foot 6 inches tall and weighing in at 135 pounds. His record, 14 wins, only 5 defeats. Fighting out of Tukums, Latvia, Edgar, the BearSlayer, Scrivers. And now his opponent, standing across the cage and fighting out of the red corner. He stands 5 foot 7 inches tall. He weighs in at 135 pounds. His record, 8 wins, only 1 defeat. Fighting out of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Xavier, the Breadman Alaoui. Your referee when the action begins, Eric Filippo.
Eric Filippo taking charge of this bantamweight fight, and you heard the response there for Xavier Aloue. He's in the red corner, Edgar Scrivers in the white and blue All-Stars shorts in the blue corner. Scrivers in that southpaw. Watch for the body kicks, but also watch out for Xavier Aloue. His leg locks, his ankle locks, such a dangerous part of his game and a growing part of MMA now. Everybody's got to be well aware of the defense, the setups for those. If they don't just finish fights, they can put you out for 6 months, a year, longer sometimes.
Also, just, I want to be honest with you, this whole time that I've seen Xavier put on this card, I've been battling to make sure that I'll say Xavier from X-Men.
Wait,
I keep reading, I'm like, it's not Xavier.
Yeah, his moniker is X-Man, and we will see exactly what special powers he does have. So he's embraced that as well, Frank. You can throw it out there if you need to. Scrivers there.
Not a bad person to associate with.
Scrivers will certainly look to keep this standing. Use that lovely, slick boxing style. His judge of distance is second to none.
And you see an example there right now. He pulled back, let that shot slip by him. And a lot of guys can move away from punches, but they move away, but then they also move themselves away from the punch. And that's the difference between an amateur or a low-level striker versus a high-level striker. You see somebody like, at his heyday, Anderson Silva was probably the highest level striker in MMA that I've ever seen in my life. He would make people miss by millimeters. And then when they missed, he was right there in position to land his own fury right back. Whereas other people will make people miss, but they also position themselves out of range. So then they're not able to make the guy pay for this.
Xavier Aloue looking to make Scrivers pay for that one. Nice right hand there, caught him on the exchange. Aloue has fought for ACB before, back at ACB 30 in Grozny. Very impressive heel hook submission. 1 minute 51 of the first round against Firoz Abdulov. We've been long overdue his second fight, and we talked about that before with Scrivers. He loves to use that teeth, that side kick to the knee, to the lead leg of his opponents to put them off, keep his distance.
It's a great kick now that really, it's funny that it's been always was popular, especially in traditional martial arts, karate, Kyoshin, karate type style martial arts. But I'm not aware of anybody really being effective with it until I was in Houston watching John Jones fight Quentin Jackson. And you really seen how dangerous and effective that stomp, that side kick to the front leg really was. He used the oblique off the backside, the side kick off the front side, and completely, there was a couple times where even I was grimacing of the effect of seeing Quentin's leg buckle forward backwards.
Well, we've seen Scrivers use it a couple of times already, but I tell you what, Aloue is certainly growing in confidence with his hands, timing as well. You can see the marks there on the face of Scrivers. He's gauging that range and distance. But we did see a little trick, a switch stance, and then a turning side kick to the stomach from Scrivers, which...
I like Scrivers' movement. I really do. I'm a fan of how he's moving. He almost reminds me of, you remember Eddie Wineland?
Absolutely, yes. Still love Eddie Wineland.
Eddie Wineland is one of my favorite guys personally as a fan of martial arts. I loved watching his stand-up because of that. Always over his feet, his head motion, through combinations, was never off balance, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities here. Landing shots, and see how he's so well balanced, his stance. Even there, nice overhand left. And so many other MMA fighters, when we throw that punch, we follow it because we're off balance. We have to shoot afterwards or crowd our opponent. There, you see him throw it and completely retract his hand back. And look how well balanced he is between his legs.
Elite striking indeed. Oh, Aloue with a powerful right hand as well.
But then you see the pull there from Scrivers?
Yes.
He pulled, eliminated most of the power off that shot, and then came back with his own left hand because he didn't pull too far. This is a really pretty match, right?
Very technical indeed. Great respect between the two, and both having success. Aloue, one of the main training partners, is Zach Makovsky for his build-up for this headline fight, which he takes on Yoni Shevchenko later this evening. Chris Mikowski as well was told me about this young man in the gym. He said he is a nightmare.
Oof. Well, the one thing I'm starting to see a little bit here, that, in my opinion, what I'm look, is Louis Xavier is starting to use tenacity. He's using technique, but really right now, what actually those last couple combinations is him going, you know what, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to bite down on my mouthpiece. And that is one school of thought. What Skeevers is continuously doing is, I'm going to be technical, slick. You can see the guy who's more the veteran, the older guy going, you know, I'm going to make you miss. We're going to keep moving. I'm going to keep out techniquing you as this fight continues on. So you're seeing really two schools of thought that, honestly, who wins is what we'll be able to say at the end.
And the thing is, they're telling you
who
to
was
kick
right.
your inner thigh all the time in the front legs. All right?
This is the
Because they're
corner of
karate,
Edgar
so they know
Scrivers,
that.
but in the other
So
corner
be
there,
careful for
Ferhat
that. You gotta use
Sahabi.
more leg kicks as well, man. He's
The
open for them
mastermind
just the same way that you are,
behind,
okay?
TriStar.
You're doing really good, man.
Throwing so many fantastic athletes and nurturing so many more as well.
Go for it, man.
The likes of Arnold Allen,
Do your thing, man. And when you
Jojo
move, it
Calderwood
looks
from
beautiful.
our neck of the woods over there in the UK. We're set here for round number 2 at ACB 72, this bantamweight bout. Edgar Scrivers in the blue corner, Xavier Aloue in the red. Love that side stance, that karate sort of stance there from Edgar Scrivers.
Well, I think I've had you convinced now, too. My own, you know, and then Carl Prince is somebody, Angelo Reyes, the coach I use in the U.S., that is starting to become more prevalent because, you know, you first had Lyoto Machida came out. Everybody said, hey, karate's dead, it doesn't work. And then Machida goes and knocks out everybody on his way to the light heavyweight championship. And then since then, you're like, well, you know, Lyoto does it, but, you know, it doesn't really work. It works for him. And now you have, you know, guys like Wonderboy Thompson.
Yes.
And now you're having individuals be very successful with karate or kickboxing, boxing type of footwork. And not everybody going, well, the de facto martial arts on our feet is Muay Thai. Well, you know what? We're starting to realize that a leg kick to the thigh is not as detrimental to people's minds as it used to be. Because in MMA, you kick me in the thigh. Chuck Liddell made that very efficient back in the beginning of the 2000. Guys kick him in the quad. He would catch their leg, hit him with a straight right hand, and knock him down. We've seen Anderson Silva do that. Remember the first time he fought up at 205 against, it was James Irving. James Irving, a big, powerful light heavyweight, throws a roundhouse. The middleweight champion of the world, Anderson Silva, grabs that foot, hits him with a straight right hand, and knocks him down. It's like, well, kicks in the thigh might not be as good of a trade-off because of the rule system that MMA allows. So now you're seeing guys turn to the side more, which gives them an advantage of not getting punched in the face because their shoulders are not square. And also, as far as stopping takedowns, it's easier because now you only have one leg to worry about, whereas if you fight at a square stance, both legs are susceptible to takedowns. Right there.
Oh, there we go. Aloue looking to mix it up there. You could see there in the stand-up as well, Aloue getting slightly frustrated.
Yes.
With the success that Scrivers was having and walking in on a couple of shots.
Well, Skeevers is just the more veteran stand-up guy. Look at him, the way he's moving. Anybody right now can watch, can see who's the more skilled guy right now, the veteran. Skeevers has an advantage here. But Aloue is trying to make up for that by going, you know what? Like I said at the end of that first round, that last minute you saw the difference between them. You're seeing a technical guy who's slicker. Not that Xavier's not slick, he's just not as slick as Edgar's. And Edgar's, you know,
eye poke there, so Scrivers had his hand held out. And
well, it's unintentional here with the new rule system. And Aloue, though, doesn't have the technical ability the same level as Skeevers, so he's trying to make up for it with grit.
There's also something to be said about the pressure of fighting in your hometown as well, especially when you heard the hype, you heard the roar from the crowd. Oh, nice turning cycle there.
You know what? I've always thought that it's easier. Well,
here he comes though. Look at that right hand. It's the first real connection that Louis buckled the knees of Scrivers with. Oh, he's to left as well.
You know what though? Scrivers is just throwing it. again, he's just blitzing forward. Louis is showing great heart and tenacity and good skill, but he's forcing this. See? Straight right hand. He's throwing the same combination, 3 exchanges in a row. Skivers, though, is kind of smiling. His eyes are open. He's thinking and calculating right now. That's the advantage of being a veteran, older fighter.
Nice mixing up to the body, then the head there. Mouthpiece come out. And Louis wasting no time, not even wiping it off. Let's keep this fight going. "50 seconds left in the second round."
That's what Xavier's doing. I mean, right now, his biting down, like we talked about, the 2 different mythologies of thinking, his being aggressive and doing good technique, but just putting his foot down on the metal and just forcing it to happen, seems to have more effect right now.
Oh, there we go. Scrivers ate one of those.
Scrivers trying to be slick and be technical, though. It's one of those things where, again, at the end of this, we can say whose strategy was better. I've seen champions use both.
So it looks like we will see a third and final round in this one. Interesting contest, like you said. This is not just a battle of fights, but game plans, really, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's cool. Like I said, you're seeing a contrast of just mythologies. You're having a guy who's trying to read and figure you out move to move in Skivers. Every movement that Louis is making, he's trying to read and figure out what's the appropriate response back and forth. Whereas Louis is just going, you know what, this is working, I'm going to keep forcing and I'm going to make sure that I just, go hard, go strong, and doing good technique, but he's not necessarily reading Skivers, where Skivers' eyes are open and he's reading a Louis. But you can flip that over and go, well, the fact that Skivers is reading him, he's hesitating. He's sitting there trying to think too much, where Louis is just executing. He's going in there going, I see an opening, I'm taking advantage of it. So it goes back and forth.
And this could come down to this third and final round. The referee there just giving Scrivers a little note, a warning on his extended fingers to avoid those eye pokes. Like we said earlier on, we are in the old rule set, so it's not actually a foul, it's not the point deductible as it is in the 2017 rules of unified rules of MMA. Oh, lovely body kick there across the solar plexus there of Edgar Scrivers. You can already sense the urgency from Louis at the start of this third round. Again, Scrivers working that lead leg. You can hear the corner there of Louis asking them to move on, move forward.
Yeah, especially because of how the rule system is now. They are taking into account that forward motion, aggressiveness that Skivers is showing. They take that in as, oh, it's ring generalship, yeah. Which has always been a very vague, concept because, well, the guy moving forward, is he in control? Well, I've seen Demetrius Johnson move backwards. It's hard to argue that he's not winning.
However this turns out, we've seen a real technical display of two very, very high-level mixed martial artists here at ACB 72 between these two. Well matched as well.
I think what's getting right now Louis in trouble, and again, it's so hard to predict the old system what the judges are seeing. But his inactivity could hurt him. Just the fact, the forward aggressiveness of Skivers, and he's thrown so much more. Like right now, in my mind, he's probably thrown 2 or 3 times the volume of what Louis has thrown.
So we're just watching there. There's I didn't know whether that was a low blow there.
I believe so, with the fact that Skeever's acknowledged and he pulled off.
Totally unintentional, obviously, and Louis not taking the allowed 5 minutes if he wanted to take it for that one, to get straight back in with the action. That's the type of fight we've got here. Oh, he caught him with that right hand. That was beautiful.
And that right there, this whole exchange right now can be viewed in two completely different ways, whether we're regarding the new rule system or the old rule system. In the new rule system, you punch and you buckle someone's head and they're looking at the rafters, you're winning. You bust their nose up, you fracture something, like you cause brutal damage. But here it's like, well, the other guy threw punches and he's moving forward. It's like, the other guy landed a shot, yeah, but he only landed one. I don't know.
It's frustrating even sat here, yet alone being in there, trying to decipher what might be on the judges' minds. Oh, another body kick. Belly for Benham between these two with just 2 minutes left. Really targeting the body scrivers in this third round.
Yeah, he's really able to turn that spinning side kick, and he's throwing it well with the right leg. When you throw it, it lands right there on the liver on your opponent.
He's getting some damage of his own as well on the face there of Scrivers.
He's being much more aggressive right now moving forward, which is leaving openings for the more conservative Xavier Aloui, who's really not forcing this fight. He sits back and waits and then throws his combo. And the problem with this is that, I don't know, it depends on, as a judge, what do you prefer? What are your preferences? What is your background? What's your history? And that makes it such an interesting aspect to our sport. We don't know how they're taking this. Is the forward aggressiveness of Skeevers impressing you? His output? Or it's the bigger shots being landed by Aloui that you're giving more weight to?
You look back at Louis's record, 8-1. The only loss that he has had back in November, I believe, of 2016. A decision loss, so never been finished himself. Oh, managing to cause some damage. You asked him to put on a bit more pressure and he's responded. Oh, and there's that body kick. That's hurt him. That hurt him.
See the elbow punching down. Wow. But he's doing a good job of not completely showcasing.
Looked up at the clock there as well. Just 15 seconds left. Look at this. Scrivers enjoying himself.
On top of that, though, even though mannerism-wise, Xavier Aloui looks like the much more damaged fighter, the way he can tell he's hurt. But if I'm just looking on the surface, look at all the blood dripping down Edgar Skeever's face. How do you judge that as far as damage? I mean, that has to come into account of, well, who's landing the hardest shots? Well, the other guy's face is much bloodier. Okay.
The crowd here calling for one more round. We'd take 5 more rounds if we could have it. That was a beautiful display of technique, wasn't it, between the two?
And it's always interesting to see different concepts. And people say, well, this is the way I do things. I'm like, well, it's the way you do things. But there's always multiple approaches to climbing a mountain. And it depends on your physical attributes, your mental attributes, your upbringing, your mindset, on what best suits you. And then that combination coming together in that unity, and we get to see the outcomes of that when guys train. That's why I love martial arts. There is no two martial arts in the world that fight exactly the same.
Greatest sport on the planet. We witnessed 2 absolute stunning executions of that sport. And this one will go to the judges. We will find out how they've called it. We might get to have a look at a couple of replays of that. Third and final round, if we can cut to some of those. We will hear who took that one in this close fight. Let us know who you think took it. Hashtag ACB72. Get involved at ACB_league on Twitter, at ACB_MMA on Instagram, and AC Berkut on Facebook. Sahabi looks happy with his fighter. The two have both enjoyed that battle between each other. That's the great thing about this sport, that respect between the two. So let's find out who took it, hand it back to Cyrus, please.
C'est le fight de la soirée, ça.
And ladies and gentlemen, after 3 hard-fought rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards. The judges score the fight 29-28, Aloe, 29-28, Scrivers, and 29-28 for your winner, Edgar the BearSlayer Scrivers.
Well, and there you go. Again, when a fight, especially with the
Let's grab a word
rule system, it's
with
very
your winner,
much a
Edgar Scrivers.
perspective.
Can I just grab a moment of your time? There we go, my friend. A tough fight. You've gone into enemy territory.